Greetings, everyone. It's time for a collection update. How you doing, everybody? How the hell are you? I'm here. My grandma just died last week. I got a tooth pulled yesterday, replaced with a bone graft and 5 stitches. I just cleaned up a whole lot of cat shit, and I'm having a hell of a time with the remodeling you see behind me. But I need to take myself off duty and do a collection update video and get my ass to bed. So I hope you like it. What we're listening to for the first time on my channel, we are not listening to physical media because I don't even want to go over there right now. We're listening to an album that I discovered last night. Ecstatic Fear is the band. And the album is 1996's... Come on. Austria Somnium Obmutum. The reason I am cool with playing this on my channel is because the CD goes for way too much money and I'll probably never buy it. So, yeah, I really like it. It's like early music mixed with some kind of mid-90s death doom. Dig it. So, I've gotten a bunch of shit in, as I do all the time. First off, this fucking shirt. Obtained Enslavement Centuries of Sorrow shirt. So the album Centuries of Sorrow by Obtained Enslavement, by the way, I just got this in also, originally was released on FT Records in 1993, and it's really great early Norwegian black death metal, kind of. Definitely recorded when the band was on the precipice of morphing from a death metal band into a black metal band, as every black metal band seemed to back then. There's a lot of Emperor influence in a lot of this stuff, but you can really tell in some of these songs where they started trying to write in a different style. So they were good as a death metal band, as you can hear in the demos that are included on this discography CD. Not a discography CD. Okay, I have the original copy of this, and I have for years. Just decided to pick this up because it has 2 extra demos on it, and it's not really that big of a deal because the songs on both of these demos, for the most part, majority of them are on the album anyways. But I wholly love the shit out of this album, and have since I got it from Redstream Records in 1998. What I did was, my friend got a copy of Witchcraft, and he said, dude, you got to order that new Obtained Enslavement. So I called up Redstream, and I said, send me the new Obtained Enslavement. And he sent me this one instead, and I was like, huh, okay, well, that's the wrong one. Give me the right one, and this one's great, too, anyways. Pleasant surprise. Always been a fan of this record. But I missed out on the original re-release on the LP. There was like a shirt and an LP back then in 2010, I think, 11, when this was reissued. So thankfully, Abyss Records has begun printing these shirts again on eBay, and yeah, check out this record, Centuries of Sorrow. And hell, this shirt is fucking sick. The back of it has the band logo on it, album title, etc. So, if my voice is kind of weird or my speaking is kind of weird, it's because I'm getting used to a missing tooth out here. I'm getting an implant done, so for a few months I'm going to be missing a tooth out front. I'm going to be busking for change on corners too in the meantime. What else did I get in here? Limbionic Art in Abhorrence Dementia. Like a lot of the albums I've been buying lately, I've already owned this, and I got rid of it when I was a stupid 20-year-old. And now I want it again. and I'm probably gonna get the rest of the Lambonic Art albums. This is not the original release on Nocturnal Art. I'm gonna put the fucking thing in here backwards. I just realized. But if you know Lambonic Art, you probably know that this is one of their best albums. I'm still pretty partial to Moon and the Scorpio, but this one is great, and I'm kind of in the mood to re-familiarize myself with their albums. But Lambonic Art is a really acquired taste. If you're looking to jump into black metal, I wouldn't start with Lambonic Art. The keyboards can kind of be off-putting, the drum machine can kind of be off-putting, but when you start to realize the charm of that kind of thing, the charm of Lambonic Art will be seen through the veils. Yeah, another album that I owned back in the day and just picked up another copy of this week. Diabolical Masquerade, Nightwork. I have all their other albums, and I have for years, but for some reason I was just like, Nightwork, fuck you, get out of here. And I always liked it. Dan Swano plays drums on this and produced it. And I don't know, I might say this is Diabolical Masquerade's best album. Listened to it when I got it the other day, and every single song, every single riff just came right back to me because this is such a memorable record. This is a solo project of Blackheim from Catatonia. And Catatonia, I don't know, interesting band, has a couple of good albums. And I wouldn't say any of the style of Catatonia parlays into Diabolical Masquerade. This really is a personality unto its own. And he has quite a few good albums under his belt under this name. The last one being Death's Design, which came out I think in 2001 or so. So I would be shocked as all hell if anything else ever came out under this moniker. But I'm really happy to have Nightwork again. I really liked it back in the day, and I really have no idea why I got rid of it back in the day. Let's see. How about a vinyl 7-inch? This is Lengche split 7-inch with Black Ops. Now, don't really care for this band, Lengche. I don't know. They seem to be kind of a big deal, but they don't really do it for me. Black Ops, however, the reason I'm a big fan of Black Ops, and this is their only release, 5 songs on here. Henke Force from Dawn sings on this, and I believe Morth from also from Dawn and Retaliation and Regurgitate plays drums on this, and I'm a really big fan of his drumming. But even regardless of who plays on this thing, this fucking thing smokes. I guess the EP is titled Pain is Weakness Leaving the Body, and the Lengche side is called Razor Grind. This stuff is just like a little bit too agoraphobic nosebleed, a little too breakdowny, a little too complex. I really like my grindcore like this. Simplistic, balls to the fucking wall, no bullshit fucking around. Napalm death, slidey kind of riffs, and blast beats, and just fucking guttural puking vocals. Check this stuff out. It's fucking awesome if that sounds interesting to you whatsoever. Some of the best grind I've really ever heard. And honestly, I would say a little bit better than Retaliation. Retaliation has that song Genocide Angels, and that is one of the greatest grindcore songs I've ever heard. And I think this is right up there with that song and Retaliation's best material. Next, I got in Melichesh. This is a CD reissue of Jin, their second full-length, originally released in 2001, I think, 17 years ago, and I kind of missed the boat on that. I I remember seeing lots of ads back in the day in the early 90s, late 90s, I'm sorry, for their As Jerusalem Burns album, and I don't know, I still have never really gotten around to listening to that. I just decided, though, that with my Proscriptor kind of fascination, I wanted to pick this up. Proscriptor plays drums in Melechesh for a period. He played on this one and I think the 1 or 2 albums after it. And the reason I got this one also is because there's a bonus disc with it that has demo versions of songs from this album. Now, where I went wrong was I thought that the demo versions would have Proscriptor on drums. So I was like, I really want to hear Melechesh in a kind of nastier, rawer sort of format with Proscriptor on drums. That sounded excellent to me. But that's not what this is. The original drummer of Melechesh plays on the demo versions of these songs. And I gather that this is when the band moved out of Jerusalem to Holland and left their drummer behind. So I think this was released in 2010 as just kind of a memento of that unfortunate circumstance. Anyways, this digipack is fucking gorgeous. Can't believe Osmos pulled off a good job on this. I haven't looked too closely yet at the track titles. There's probably something wrong with the track titles or a typo in here because it is an Osmos Productions release. But there's a booklet in the middle too with lyrics. I really like Melechesh. I'm going to be getting the rest of their records. I can't recommend them enough. This band kind of unfortunately exists in between this area of like being a huge nuclear blast band that a lot of people in the underground would just completely ignore, and they also kind of exist below all that kind of stuff where the big sort of like power metal fans and the people who just buy like big name non-underground bands would ignore this kind of thing. So they're kind of in this weird niche, and I've just always really enjoyed all their releases. Emissaries, Epigenesis are fucking killer albums, and they're just super unique. They're just playing like this strange kind of Mesopotamian kind of style. I don't really know what it is about their guitars or their tuning or their scales or what have you, but they have a super unique way of merging kind of like a thrashy power metal with kind of like Middle Eastern kind of music, or I don't know. I'm really stepping out of my boundaries and describing a type of music that I don't really know much about, but this is a super interesting band, and they deserve a lot more attention, I think, both from the underground and the non-underground, the overground, the ground, the above ground, the people who don't listen to good underground music. Check out Melechesh if you have not. Next, let's see. Occult, Prepare to Meet Thy Doom. This is their second full length with a demo from 1993. This fucking sucks. I fucked up in buying this, and they fucked up in writing this and recording this, and Candlelight USA fucked up in releasing this on CD. I hate this. I accidentally bought it thinking it was something else. Don't need to fucking bitch about it anymore. That sucks. I'm probably going to be selling it on eBay or something, because for some reason it cost me like $15, and it's just a piece of shit. Let's see. Justin Stubbs talked about this album the other day, and I realized this is the only bal-sagoth album that I didn't have a copy of, and it's also something that I've already bought in the past and got rid of. Now, I can see with this one why I would have gotten rid of it back in the day, because it's not that great. I don't really know what it is. This is the first album that came out after Battle Magic, and I feel like I'm pretty good at describing music, but I can't really put my finger on what it is that makes this not as great as Battle Magic. Not even half as great as Battle Magic, in my opinion. It just doesn't click. It doesn't make sense. There's just not that cohesive synergy that Battle Magic had. Battle Magic had boundless fucking courageous chances being taken on so many different styles. It's one of the most ballsy albums I've ever heard, and it's all pulled off so flawlessly and tastefully. But this album tries maybe just a little bit too hard, to, I don't know, be more fantasy based or be more grandiose, or I really don't know. I can't put my finger on why, but it just doesn't click with me whatsoever. I do have the album after this, Chthonian Chronicles. This is a fucking book and a half to look through. And Chthonian Chronicles, I can't remember what I even thought of it last time I listened to it. I really need to sit down and listen to bal-sagoth discography from front to end, and just kind of have some fun doing that. But in the meantime, this Atlantis Ascendant, I just can't recommend it. Ugh. I was driving through my old town the other day, and I saw a pawn shop that I used to visit in a new location, and I had thought that their old location had gone completely out of business. I even wrote them on Facebook a couple of years ago and said, "Are you guys still in business?" And I never heard back. Assumed they were completely out of business. The reason I was so into this pawn shop was because a friend of mine, he's now a friend of mine, he wasn't years ago, but this guy around town would always drop off these huge heaps of CDs, and they were like kind of underground, kind of non-underground, melodic stuff from like Napalm Records, Necropolis Records, stuff like that, at pawn shops all over town. And on some of his releases, he would write his fucking name on the CDs even. And I have so many of his former CDs in my collection. It's the oddest thing. So I thought, you know, I've got an extra minute. I'm going to pop inside this pawn shop and see if by chance they even still sell CDs. And if so, if any of Keith Smith's CDs are still in there. I walk in straight to the CDs and start looking, and Withering Surface pops up at me, and I fucking knew it. Keith Smith stuff was in this pile. So I picked up a couple of his albums. This Withering Surface, I do actually have the Nude Ballet, which is the least metal, cat making an appearance, album title I've ever heard. But this is the Scarlet Silhouette, which is just a little less metal than the Nude Ballet. But this is pretty killer, speedy, kind of Gothenburg styled mellow death kind of. Stuff, really nerdy. it's really, without the context of its time period, it just really loses so much of its relevance, because they were trying to do something, they were taking something way too far, I guess I would say. Withering Surface, I'm not even sure if they are from Sweden, but they totally play in that like Gothenburg mellow death kind of style. Next we have Mactatus with The Complex Bewitchment. I never had any interest in picking this up. Alright. Say hi. Say hi to the camera, buddy. This is brother, if you haven't seen him in a while. And he's having a really hard time making it in the litter box lately, and it's really pissing me off. So anyways, Mactatus is a Norwegian black metal band, pretty much chomping at the coattails of Dimmu Borgir, and maybe even Cradle of Filth a little bit. This is a promo on Napalm Records, and I haven't really even listened to it at all since I bought it. You like this album review, brother? Next, let's see. I'm not certain if this was, get your butthole off the camera, a Keith Smith album or not, but it was really weird to see an Earth album among all the Trisha Yearwoods and the Reba McEntires. Will you face the camera? This is all he wants to do all day. Sit on my fucking shoulder. So, whatever. I'm not a fan of Earth, but I thought this packaging looks kind of interesting. It was $2. And I once had the pleasure of hanging out with Joe Preston when he came through tour for his solo project called Thrones. So I thought I'd pick it up and check it out. And also, a side note, Kurt Cobain plays on this. And this album is alright, which is saying a lot for Earth. I sat through an entire Earth set one time, and I was bored to fucking tears. This cat is done. Get out. Next, we've got And Oceans with The Symmetry of I, The Circle of O. Also bought this because Justin Stubbs was talking about it. I need to get all of the And Oceans album. I have their And Oceans albums. I have all their bad albums, and I need to get their good albums, which is kind of weird. Their bad albums I picked up because Keith Smith sold them to a fucking pawn shop years ago. Anyways, this is really good. Justin said that it was one of his favorites from back in the day. It's one of those where bands were kind of, approaching the turn of the century and starting to be a little bit more experimental, a little more avant-garde, and kind of throw in those sort of technological, more electronic sort of elements. And it's really pulled off quite well. And I was surprised when I read that this is actually mastered by James Murphy of Testament and Death and Cancer, and recorded in Tico Tico Studios. I'm a pretty big fan of most things recorded in Tico Tico Studios, as long as it isn't boring power metal. Let's talk about this fucking awesome Elderwind LP that I got in. This is The Magic of Nature, finally seeing the light of day on LP. I got the clear edition, which was limited to 100 copies. I got copy number 79. Clear is sold out. Green is sold out. But black is still available as of the filming of this video. And it costs €21.90. So pick this up. If you're a fan of summoning whatsoever, you're going to love this. If you're not familiar with Elderwind at all. Lyrics. Double clear vinyl. You know what clear vinyl looks like. And it also kind of has this interesting frame of spot glossing around it, and the logo is spot glossed. I really like the presentation here from Wolfspell Records. Yeah, this is great stuff. This is a Russian solo project. It's almost like he was just kind of experimenting with something and happened upon a happy accident, and the keyboards used on this album are great. It kind of reminds me of some of that new school sort of post-black metal like Eldamar or Hermoder, stuff like that. Lonnie, if you're watching, you would absolutely love this album. Wait a minute. I already talked to Lonnie about this. I'm losing my fucking mind here. Speaking of Lonnie, he did a video a few weeks ago or whatever where he was talking about getting a haul from Mark Riddick of the band Macabre. And there's been a couple other YouTubers doing videos about this, and I thought, why not? I'm going to try and get in on this and see what's going on. The thing is, everybody's saying if you order something from Mark Riddick, and obviously I'll put a link down below for you, the thing is, he sends you a bunch of extra goodies in the package, and it's kind of cool to see what he'll send you. And I did get a couple of extra goodies. I was kind of hoping for this Macabre album on 12-inch, which Lonnie got in a video. He ordered a 7-inch, and he got a 12-inch and like 2 other 7-inches or something. That was fucking awesome. But this To the Bone album is pretty cool, and I had listened to it on Bandcamp a couple of times and decided it's worth owning. What I didn't know was that this is actually a CDR, and I don't know. I've kind of miffed about the longevity of CDRs. A lot of CDRs that I have in my collection from the late 90s, early 2000s don't play anymore. So I kind of think, with as cheap as it must be to print CDs these days, doing a CDR is kind of doing a disservice to your band and your customers. Anyways, he did send me a different version of this album. Same thing, to the bone. This has a bunch of like art cards in it and stuff. I will probably wind up giving away one of these versions in a contest or something like that. But Mark Riddick's album art, just all of his art, is just simply always stunning to a certain degree. It gets kind of samey, and they say there's only 100 ways to skin a cat. There's more than 100 ways to skin a cat. I don't know. There's only a certain number of ways to draw a skull, and it gets kind of old after a while, but Mark Riddick is kind of the best at it. So I got Macabre to the Bone. I listened to the album last night, and I'm kind of still on the fence about it. It's pretty good. It's just a little samey. And the mastering or the mixing, production-wise, is just a little something weird about it. It's not that great. It's not really my cup of tea all that much. There's just a lot of chunks and squealies and morbid fucking chunks and squealies, really. And after a while, they just kind of lose their effect. This Fetid Zombie, however, was a little bit more interesting. And this came out on Morbid Visions, which I think also this one did too. And this is just a like 3-song EP. And Fetid Zombie is a project that Mark Riddick does with a couple other dudes from other bands like Horrified, Afflictor, Revel in Flesh, and Orsis. Yeah, and this is pretty cool. A little bit more nuance to the style in this one. A little bit more old school as compared to Macabre. And then sent me a fuck ton of posters, postcards, zines, booklets, flyers, and photos and pictures and just all kinds of stuff. And I don't know. I've got fucking pounds and pounds and pounds of this shit sitting around, and I try and stuff it in an envelope whenever I send anything out to someone or sell something to someone or whatever. So I've got more of it. So yeah, that's my take on that. If I had walls, the thing about down here is that these walls, these 2 walls, are brick, and I'm not very good at hanging stuff on brick, and I'm not confident that, you know, gummy fucking poster gum is gonna stick to brick. It's pretty good. So I don't really bother decorating here. So I've really only got these 2 walls, and I'm decorating them with 3,000 CDs. So, yeah, maybe next time I do a video, I will have all this shit done. But in the meantime, it's a fucking headache, and I'm not looking forward to the rest of it. I've fucked up pretty bad so far. So, yeah, that's how that's going. Wish me luck, and we will see you next time.